Good morning. My name is Emerson, and I'll be speaking to you today about Palbrix salt. Um, if you have any questions during this whole presentation, you can type it in the chat, and then we'll talk about the question or comments that you guys have. At the end, we're also going to have some time allotted to answering your questions. Depending on this presentation is just supposed to last 30 minutes, but if for some reason it goes over, then if you need to leave, then please feel free to leave. But we are going to stay until we answer all your questions. So let's get started. So we're going to look today at Palbrix salt. One of the first things, I'm sorry, the board is full of notes. It'll make sense in a bit. One of the first things that I kept being asked was, why this model? So Atago manufactures refractometers, and we also have salt meters. And we began looking at the market, not only handhelds, but it started with other models like the CM100 Alpha, the CM Base, the Cure or the Cure. We started looking at the market to see what the market was using and what the market was needing. And we said that, if we combine a few of our technology together, then we can come up with an instrument that's not in the market, but that would be used. And same thing with the Piccolo. I'm not sure if you've seen it on the website, but the Piccolo is also combining a few things. So the Palbrix salt is one of those things where we're combining two very useful instruments into one. This is the Pal salt. As you can see, it has, the old one used to be gold-plated sensors, sensors. This one is titanium electrodes. So the Palbrix salt is two sensors in one. The prism, I'm not sure if you can tell, it's not the entire thing anymore. It's just like a strip of glass there. That's the prism for bricks. And then the titanium prongs, the titanium electrodes are for salt. So they are two sensors in here, but made to look like one. So this is the Palbrix salt. And we also have the Palbrix salt +5 that we're going to talk at the end. So anyway, so that's the why. That's the why, because we think that the market has need for something like this, and also it opens up new applications for this instrument. And speaking about applications, the most common applications for this model, the quickest ones that come to mind is the food industry. Sauces, seasonings, dressings, and soup. Soups like in restaurants, soup, or soup as in making soups to sell, like canned soup. Because these samples, you would normally be measuring bricks and salt anyway. So that's one of the advantages of the Palbrix salt, where you don't need two different instruments. You can do it in one. And also a new one that's been coming up is the beverage industry. So in the beverage industry, if you look at the back of the label of some of these beverages, they contain sodium. So one of the most popular ones that contain different type of sodium is hydration drinks. Drinks for hydration. In Japan, they're popular. In different countries, there's different ones. For example, there's Gatorade. In Latin America, there's different ones by Pepsi. So those hydration drinks, they contain sodium, as well as sugars and other things. So those are also measured with Palbrix salt. And also energy drinks, or even Coca-Cola. Actually, Coca-Cola has more sodium than Red Bull. So these are the most common applications. And we are finding out more and more. It's a very new model. So we're finding new applications every week. Is there any questions so far? No? Okay. I hope you guys can hear me clearly. All right, so let's get rid of applications. If you have any questions, you can also email us, and we'll answer you. Next question I get a lot is calibration. How do you calibrate this hybrid instrument? How do you calibrate a Palbrix salt? Well, it has two sensors in one, so you're looking at two different types of calibrations. First, start with zero set. Like any other refractometer, you zero set with water. Water, put it, is zero set. And like with other salt meters or other Tago salt meters, you zero set salt with air. So you have to do two zero sets with water and with air. The good thing is the instrument detects if there's water on it. So there's only one zero set button. And when you press it, if there's water, he automatically zero sets bricks. If it's dry, he automatically zero sets salt. So he detects it. Reference set. Reference set is not a phrase that we use a lot in refractometers, because in refractometers, the reference set kind of would be the zero set. But in salt meters, reference set is you have a reference, a standard, and you know it's supposed to read that standard. And if it's not reading that standard, then you make the adjustment for the instrument to read that standard. So as a salt meter, you use a 2.5 saline solution. So you put in the 2.5 saline solution on the sensor, you press start. If it gives you higher or lower, then you reference set, and then it starts reading 2.5. If you put it on and it reads 2.5, then you're good. You don't need to reference it. The other question is about verification. How do you verify this instrument? How do you know it's working correctly? And actually, the certificate that comes with it is a little different than other certificates. You can see from there, it basically has two types of standards. You have brick standard, and then you have salt standards. So you have a 0 bricks, 30 bricks, and 60 bricks is tested. And saline, you have a 0, 5.5, and 9.4. So 6 different standards are tested on this Palbrix salt. Okay. Also, today is more of an explanation, if you haven't noticed. If you want like a hands-on understanding of how to use this instrument, then there was a video link on the description of the video, and someone is going to also mention it right now in the comments. Click on that, and that's a 5-minute user manual video. So it goes through everything from unboxing the instrument to setting up the time and date, reading. It goes through zero setting, reference set, and verification. It goes through what we're going to look at next, which is the output, what the outputs. And no, it doesn't go through that. It basically gives you everything, even how to erase the data when you're done. So check out that link, that video. It's just over 5 minutes. It explains in detail everything. All right. So any questions about calibration, verification, zero setting, certification? No questions. We're going pretty quick. All right. Output. The instrument saves data. It saves your date, it saves your time, and if I'm not mistaken, it saves 100 readings. So the last 100 readings that you took, it saves it. Okay. The reason it saves this data is because it outputs this data. It outputs it through NFC. Now, NFC is more popular in some countries than in others. I know Bluetooth was the popular thing when I was growing up, but now NFC is in everything. NFC is in your cell phone. For example, here in Japan, also in Europe when I was there, you could use your cell phone as a pass for trains or buses. So that's the NFC sensor. Also, if you have credit cards, if you have credit cards that have that little wireless thing that you tap, that is NFC. So NFC is widely being used in the world, but it's making just coming into instrumentation. So it outputs the data through NFC, and the video that is in the link that shows you how to do it. I'll do a little bit here later. And what it outputs is the date, the time, the bricks, the salt, the temperature, and the salt index. So the salt index is something new that we've introducing, which is the index of how much bricks versus how much salt. For people that are doing food, that are doing soups, they can use the salt index as a pointer of how healthy their food is, like how much bricks is in there and how much salt is in there. So if a lot of that bricks is coming from your salt, then it's not healthy. If you have a good enough bricks, like a good amount of bricks for salt for a soup, but the salt content is low, then that's a healthy soup. So the salt index can be used in different ways. Any questions? All right. Now, Pal brick salt versus Pal brick salt F5. The instruments are these two. Sorry, this one is in Japanese. It's a domestic model. This one is international model. Physically, they look the same. Okay, sensors are the same. The only difference is that, well, range is the same. Or ranges and scales. They both measure bricks, they both measure salt, they both measure it at the same range. They both have the same accuracy for bricks, the same accuracy for salt. Where they differ, and this is kind of like the biggest thing, is the way you can program these or adjust these to match standard, to match titration, or to match a known sample. So if you didn't know already, this instrument uses conductivity to measure salt. Salts conduct electricity, and the instrument outputs the type of electricity, then it receives it, and depending on that is how it converts it to salt. But there are different things that can conduct salt as well. So if the instrument is reading slightly lower or higher than what you know it should, like a known sample, or if you're comparing to titration, then you can make adjustments to both instruments to read the same as another instrument. But the big difference is that the Pal brick salt is the same, uses the same way of adjusting that measurement as the Pal salt, which means it uses a coefficient y equals ax plus b, okay, where x is the reading that it's being displayed, y is the reading you know it should be. So for example, I have here a TA, titration Atago. Let's say you're reading it and the Atago salt meter or the brick salt reads 1. And you know your titration set is 2.5. Same thing here. It read 1, 2.5. It read 1.1. It read 2.7. It read 0.9. It read 2.3. Okay? So it's not matching. This column is Atago's reading. This is X. This column is Y. This is what you want it to be. Okay? So basically you're saying you want it to read 2.5, and what it's reading is 1.0 A plus B. Okay? So you're reading 1.5. You want it to read 2.5 because you know that's how much salt it has. So you have to play around with the A and B. So what you do is math. You turn A into 2 and B into 0.5. Okay, so 2 times 1 is 2 plus 0.5 is 2.5. Then the same things apply to this. Okay, so if your result is supposed to be 2.3 and you're getting 0.9, same thing, times 2 plus 0.5, you get 2.3. Okay. So this is how salt meters work. The PAL salt works. And this is how you would adjust a PAL brick salt. This is how you would adjust a PAL brick salt to whatever known sample or titration you have. Okay, PAL brick salt. The PAL brick salt plus 5 is different. It's very different. And some people would prefer this way of doing things, and some people would prefer the other way of doing things. With the PAL brick salt plus 5, give me a second. You are not using math, at least not you, the instrument is. What you do is you have prepared 3 different samples, and we're gonna do that in a bit. You're gonna prepare a pure sample, whether it be your soup, your sauce, ketchup, your dressing. Then here you're gonna have a diluted version of that, and an even further diluted version of that. Okay, and then you're gonna read these on the PAL salt plus 5, and he's gonna read this, and you're going to tell him this is 2.5% salt, and he's gonna read this, and then the instrument is gonna read it, and he's gonna save this data as this is 2.5, and then he's gonna read the diluted versions, and he's gonna save this data as this is 2.5. So you don't have to do math, you don't have to do the formula. You just have to put your pure sample, you tell him what concentration that is, then you put 2 other samples, and he's gonna save this data, and next time, you just put your pure sample, you press start, no dilution. Okay? No dilution, no calculations. Any questions?
Yes, we do have several questions.
Oh, we do?
Yes. The first one is how to get the data in PAL brick salt to be extracted out to computer.
Good question. We mentioned that we're going to take a look at this later, I promise. We mentioned that the instrument outputs through NFC. NFC means near field communication. Your cell phones have it. I'm not sure if your iPads have it. Anyways, mobile devices have it. Your PC, some laptops have it, like Sony, they tend to have it. But if you're on a computer and it doesn't have an NFC receiver, you can always buy a little NFC pad. It's just like a little pad that then is a little USB connected to your computer, and then you just put the PAL here, and it outputs it. We don't sell this receiver or this NFC receiver. You can get it on eBay. You can get it in different parts. There's also a distributor in Poland. If you need this, I'll email us and we'll give you information. Convest. They have a very neat software of outputting the data through this NFC receiver. And Atago also has a version of this software that you can output the data onto the PC. Questions?
Yes, we have one more. And it says if we have or will be developing our own app for NFC output purpose.
Well, they're telling us or they're asking us?
Asking us.
You can, of course. This is not the program you do on your on the PC on Windows. That's your thing. If you want to develop an app, like actually there's a few apps out there. Like I said, we have an app. Compass has an app. There's a company in Netherlands that has an app, but theirs is not through NFC, it's through USB. But yeah, there are different companies out there that are making apps for our instruments. For example, the one in Netherlands is for kiwis. There's a company in France that has an app for France or Spain, or both, that has an app for pineapple. So if you want to develop an app, whether it be on mobile or for Windows or for Mac, there's no one for Mac, please develop one for Mac. For our instruments, then go for it, yeah. You're welcome, the more the merrier. Any other questions? No, that's it? All right. Now where were we? Okay, so we were at the 3 different samples that you would use to create the curve or create the scale for Calibration Salt +5. Okay, and right now let me get some things out of the way and I'll show you how to do it in person, since we seem to have a lot of time left. Okay, let me see, excuse me. All right, can you see? Sorry about my mess. All right, so we have 3 different containers. Here we're gonna, first of all, we're gonna be testing this. Not sure what it is. It says Bulldog. It's a sauce that I think we use for stir frying, maybe. Tonkatsu. Oh, this is tonkatsu sauce. Oh, never mind. It's tonkatsu sauce. So we're gonna put some pure sample here, diluted sample here, and more diluted over here. This is easy. Just put your pure sample. This is a dilution. This is where you need to be a bit more careful, because it has to be 6 bricks or less, and it has to be between 1 and 2% salt. Can you see? Yes, give me a second. Okay, so this last one is very important. It has to be less than 6 bricks, and it has to be less than or between 1 and 2% salt, because if it's more than 6 bricks, or it's more or less than this salt, then the conversion is not gonna be correct. Okay, so here we're gonna put, is this tonkatsu sauce really?
Yes.
It doesn't smell like that. All right, so this is your pure sample. We're not gonna put a lot because we only need a few drops. Here, we're gonna put a little, and here a little, and we're gonna add water. Just like that, you have your 3 samples ready. Now, we only need to check. Remember, this is your pure sample. This is the diluted version. The only one we need to really be careful about is this guy. We need to make sure it's around 6 bricks. It doesn't look like 6 bricks. I think I diluted too much, but let's check. Okay. I forgot to bring up my pet, Emerson. All right, give me a second. And I know I brought a tissue. All right, so it's measuring. It's okay. can be a bit more. So it's measuring 4.6 bricks, which is less than 6, but it's only measuring 0.58 salt. So I might need a little bit, just a little bit more tonkatsu sauce. Do you guys know what tonkatsu is? It's basically deliciousness. It's a slice of pork, very nice slice, depending on the pork, where it lives, what you fed it, if you sang to it, and then it's put in a, what do you call it? A butter, and then it's deep fried. All right, let's mix this again. And read it again. It's going up. So anyways, let's say I brought it up to between 1 and 2 salt, then it would be your ideal sample. So what you would do is go to the video that it's in the link, and that'll show you exactly the menus that you would use to go in. You're gonna put this on, and before you read it, so this is a trick. Before you read it, you're gonna put in, this is how much salt is in here. Then you're gonna put it on, save the data, and then read this, read that, and then it's saved. Okay. Any questions about this part?
No, but we do have a question about if this presentation will be recorded or it will be uploaded later.
I'm pretty sure like the rest, it's gonna be saved and you can access it later. But I wouldn't use this presentation as a way of using the instrument. If you want to know how to use this instrument, use the YouTube video that is in the link. That shows you how to use it. This is just a very brief explanation of the differences. Okay, so the reason I bring you back here, so we saw that we had 3 different, sorry, any other questions?
No, but there was a comment.
Oh, yeah, that's what 11 years? 11 or 12 years working with a tagger does. You look at something and you know the difference. Or you can taste it sometimes. So you had 3 different samples, right? Pure, diluted, and more diluted. So I put caution that you need to be careful with this last one when it comes to bricks and salt concentrations. But there's something I left out, and that's why I brought you back to the whiteboard, is that the amount of sample that you put on here with the pure sample, the volume that you put on here, you also have to be very careful. So let's say we're looking at this on the side. Oh, wow. Okay, this area here is this area here. This area here is this area here. Okay, and here you have your electrodes, and here you have your refractometer. Okay, so the volume of pure sample that you put on in the beginning is what you need to repeat every time. This is also a very important point, because if when you're programming it, and this is only applicable for the F5, okay? It's not for just PAL. It doesn't apply for PAL brick salt. Only for PAL brick salt F5. If at the beginning you put this amount of pure sample, and then when you're testing, you're putting this amount, this volume has a different conductivity than this volume. Okay, so because it's different, then it's going to be slightly off. So always be careful about how much you're putting it when you're programming the scales. 2 ways you can do this. One way, use a pipette and always use the same volume. Or 2, you can just fill it up to the very top always. Easy. Okay? But so two things to be careful of: the volume that you use on the instrument for your pure sample and your most diluted sample. Those are the only two things. Okay. Now, the other difference between pile brick salt and pile brick salt plus 5 is that with the pile brick salt, just like any other salt meter, you program one coefficient at a time. So you program coefficient, and it's good for that sample that you program. With the pile brick salt F5, you have 6 different scales. You have the normal scale, and then you have, keep taking the marker that's old. 5 user scales. Okay, so these are 5 different samples that you can program. Let's say you're going to program ketchup. You want to program barbecue sauce. You're going to program mayo. I won't even touch mayo right now. Some other sauce. Okay, five of them. You can program 5, and then you don't need to change it. If you had just a pile brick salt, you can program ketchup, but then when you go to measure barbecue, then you have to reprogram it with that coefficient. So it saves 5 different scales. Any questions?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
And the question is, do we need to be specific with the dilution ratio for the diluted and more diluted samples?
No.
Approximate only.
Yeah. I think I kind of covered it, but we can see it again. Pure, there's no dilution. This guy, you don't have to be careful. The user manual says it very clearly. This one is more diluted than this, or is less concentrated than this, but more than that. So this guy just has to be an in-between. Okay? Highest concentration, less concentrated, least concentrated. As long as you have this in that order, you're going to go well. And of course, you're going to follow the rules about 6 bricks or less and 1 to 2% solid. Okay, so this is the one you have to be careful of. This one, as long as the concentration is more than this and it's less than this, you're good. Any other questions?
No.
All right. Please take a look at the video in the link. That you can go to the Atago YouTube, and it's going to be there. Or you can also ask us questions, send us an email. Thank you very much, and have a good day, guys.